In this video, we're going to take a look at how you can use SharePoint Designer to change the page layout of the default.aspx page in a SharePoint site. We're going to look at web part zones and how to add a new one, as well as how to change their layout and options. So the first thing we're going to do is, of course, to make sure that our site that we want to modify is open in SharePoint Designer. Then we're going to double-click on the default.aspx to open it for editing. Now that our page is up for editing, we can go over here and scroll to the right. And the first web part zone we're going to deal with is the right web part zone. So we want to bring up the properties on this web part zone. We'll do that by right-clicking and going to web part zone properties. Now we're going to change the zone title here to bottom, and we're going to change the layout here. As you can see, it has two options: top to bottom, or a vertical layout, or side to side as a horizontal layout. We're going to change that to side to side, and then we're going to uncheck all of the browser settings for this particular web part zone. What that's going to mean is that using the SharePoint browser UI, users are not going to be able to add or remove any web parts from this particular web part zone. They'll be forced to use SharePoint Designer if they want to edit that. Now, this is a way to be able to configure a page that you could then set up with a series of web part zones that you want to keep in a certain layout, while giving them perhaps only one web part zone in which to edit. So we'll click OK here to apply our changes. Alright, now as you can see, it's changed it to a side-to-side web part zone. Our two web parts that were in there before are now showing up side by side. The next thing we're going to do is go ahead and click on the bottom web part zone again. And then we're actually going to change to a split view in our SharePoint Designer. Split view is going to allow us to keep an eye on the design surface and also look at the code view. We're just going to scroll up a little bit, because what we really want to do here is remove these three lines. What this is going to do basically is take the table cells that were set up here and collapse them all into one table cell. Once we've done that, we can switch back to the design view. Now we just need to right-click here and go to the table cell properties. We want to change this to a column spanning of 3, since we removed 2 other table cells, so we want this to span the space of those 3. And we'll go ahead and apply the changes. Now we're going to select the left web part zone and then hit the left arrow button. That's going to get us into the table cell. And we're going to click on Insert, SharePoint Controls, and Web Part Zone. Now that's going to put a web part zone up above the left web part zone. We're going to right-click on that, go to the web part zone properties. We're going to call this web part zone top. We're also going to change this to side by side and uncheck all of the browser settings here as well. Go ahead and click OK. So now we can take the web parts that are in this left web part zone and actually drag them up into the top. Then we can right-click on the web part zone properties here as well. Go ahead and call this one middle. We're going to leave it as a top to bottom, and we're going to leave all the check marks here. We'll go ahead and click OK. Now we can go ahead and save our changes, and then take a look at what this looks like in our browser. As you can see, I've brought up the page in edit mode, and as you can look, the middle web part zone shows up with the ability for us to add a web part. However, the top and bottom zones aren't giving us that option.